River OC's.
Well, mean and nice, I mean,
That's what.
it's kind of interesting, and I always look at Rate Your Professor, you know, I mean, we all do this. And in my worst moments, I look at my colleagues. You really can't help doing it, but I like hard but fair, you know,
Yeah.
and I've had, I mean, one of them says, don't take this, teacher, too many papers, really a stickler. I think, thank you. Because anybody who would follow advice, I don't want in my class anyway, you know. I want the ones who are gonna, you know, see, it's really hard work, but you learn a lot. Those are the people I want in my class anyway. But again, getting to these, the NCTE IRA are very generalized. Okay, they make a lot of room for creativity. Something is very, very different about the national ones. And what is that? They talk about the three text types. What's really brand new about the three text types? Because two of them we've been doing forever in high schools. One of them is fairly new.
Are you talking about narrative?
I think we've always done narrative.
So
I hope it's hard. You're gonna say informational explanatory as a stuff?
are you talking about
I thought they
the blended,
were all.
are you talking about the blended stuff?
Well, the informational explanatory, I mean, they talk about things like, you know, an informational paper might be how something in a motor works, or something like that. So they're taking, if you see it as a research paper, you know, but that's not really what they're looking at. They're looking at how do penguins find food, what are the parts of a motor, how does the legislative branch of government function? Okay, and that has kind of been outside of the English class for the most part. We had literature, and from literature came narrative writing, you know, as well, and argument. But did you not have a lot of argument writing when you were in high school? No, you didn't?
Argument, that's all we had.
That's all you had?
AP writing courses,
Awesome.
for AP like literature courses, you wouldn't like argue or write an essay on, like it'd always be descriptive before.
Right, right, okay. But the informational explanatory, what they're trying to pull in is more life skills. Okay, and I kind of like saying that, because you are gonna have students who just don't wanna write another paper on a poet. You know, by the time you come to 9th and 10th grade, there are students who are just so turned off by those kinds of things. And I know when I've taught like a 150 class for automotive students, you know, the students for automotive, yeah, I mean, they can really write well about the things that they're interested in. And up until quite recently, you know, those interests were more in the humanities, you know. So I think maybe pulling in more informational explanatory might bring in more students, you know, other students. But it's, and the argument, and you said you never did arguments in high school. How about anybody else? You did a lot of them?
I'll say never, but they were like sparing.
Yeah, I've gone to never, just like one
Yeah,
time.
they like spread a paper.
Yeah,
it's a lot,
I
maybe
didn't do
help
any
it.
narrative.
Okay, so yours were like informational, but in terms of like research papers.
Well, not even just that, you had to make an argument for a book. Like, anytime you read a text, it wasn't, you know, create a narrative piece about the text, it was pick two opposing sides in the book and argue which one was right, or, and
Okay.
develop your argument with support from the text.
Mine was very argumentative.
Yeah.
How about yours? What was
I would
yours?
say it's more argumentative than anything.
More argumentative than anything?
Yeah.
Okay, how about yours?
Mostly informational, probably.
But informational in terms of like what might be a typical assignment?
We just did a lot of research papers, and they didn't have to be argument, we just did a lot of research papers. So, I mean, sometimes we did creative writing pieces, but for the most part, that's what we focused on in high school.
Okay, and yours was, you said argumentative, but within a literary context?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, and your experience with?
Mostly argumentative.
Okay. Okay, so a lot of, you know, a lot of argument has been out there in various ways. I think that they're really pushing it though I mean, when you take a look on that second page where they say the special place of argument and the standards. Because I'm into rhetoric.
I am too, but this was worse than reading Fulkerson.
This was worse than reading Fulkerson.
It's not a bad vocabulary. I think.
Thought it was miserable to get through as well.
Okay, but what I like about the idea of pulling argument into it is public discourse has really degraded. And I wonder if to some extent, you know, I mean, when you talk about argument, you're not talking about, you know, people screaming at each other on Fox News or Chris Matthews or or whatever, and that's kind of the level of argument that we see today. So I think any effort, you know, to have thoughtful argument and propositions and looking at, you know, what rhetoric is about would be a very good thing. Okay?
Yeah. No, I agree, I just think that it's sad that that's what, the only education I got. I don't really remember more, I could count creative assignments on one hand.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me sad that that's what I think, at least in my district,
Yeah.
that was all we did.
Yeah, in my high school, all we did was narrative. That goes back quite a few years, but the only, or maybe it's the only assignments that I remembered were the narratives. You know, that's what sticks in my mind, the, you know, narrative.
I had a lot of creative though, but I went to a private high school, for all high schools, my only one.
No,
I just wondered if maybe the standards are different somehow, because like I didn't do barely any argument, it was mostly creative and informational stuff. I don't know if that matters basically.
It
There's
probably
those
didn't
things for that.
then, you know, I mean, I think now it might, you know, because a lot of private schools are going to be following Common Core, you know, just basically. in
I just
terms
never
of-
like got into rhetoric until I was in college, like,
Yeah.
I didn't really learn much about rhetoric in high school, but.
Okay, and what can we say about the Michigan ones? So the Michigan ones, I think they're pretty ambitious.
Is ambitious the word for it?
Well, what's interesting is that 9 and 10 are very close to 11 and 12. There's just a little something that's added to 11 and 12.
It'd almost be easier to do some things in 9 and 10 and then 11 and 12, like progressively, because I kind of circled some of them that I thought would be like better in other areas.
Like which one?
Like 3, I thought narratives to develop real or imagined experience of events. It's like something you would give freshmen and sophomores. And then I think 5 and 6 on the second page, like developing strength in writing, is things like planning, revising, editing, rewriting. You would do that more towards like the end. You would get into more formal mechanics as soon as they got like their ideas. It makes sense to me to kind of, I don't know, but you could do all of that over and over again in each English class, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Well, that's kind of what Ferris has always followed, because in our English 150, it's more narrative, and a lot of people incorporate a research paper, but it can be a lot more personal. And then 250 is supposed to be argument, and 321 and 325 and all those are supposed to be professional, okay? But it's changing greatly, you know, because we almost lost 150 in Gen Ed. 150 was going to be banished, you know, it wasn't going to exist anymore, because the Gen Ed committee wanted to incorporate a new course, which would be a 3-hour course in critical thinking, college skills, diversity. And there were some problems with that, you know, I mean, we really argued about that. Can you think of what some of our arguments were about that? It would be like an FSUS enhanced, so 3-credit-hour course, yeah.
Seems like a lot of people need that 150 when entering college, like, they just don't have the basic skills down yet.
Yeah,
And they just need as much practice as possible.
and that was one of our arguments. What was another? Yeah.
well, a lot of those things they want, you can incorporate in an English class anyway.
Yeah, right, that was our point, yeah, I said, well, that's what we do, or we can do, that was our other point. How about in terms of, you know, can you think of any other arguments with, like, the logistics of it?
3-hour course sounds awful.
I didn't really find FSUS helpful, just to. Like,
That-
I didn't
that
take
was
it
the
as a
argument with me
freshman,
too.
And I didn't think it was really worth it, I don't know, if
Waste
it
my
was just
time.
like the instructor or the seminar, like, I don't like often find classes I don't think are not useful, but it just seemed like it was there to pick up credits kind of
Uh-huh.
in a way, so.
And
If
you said-
if there was an enhanced version of that, I think it'd be kind of,
Worthless.
yeah.
See, our argument was who would teach it.
Who would, are you
Yeah,
gonna do
that's-
writing in that course? I mean, what kind of
Well,
writing would you do?
and there would have been writing in the course, you know, but I mean, it didn't belong to any particular discipline, you know, the course. And basically FSUS, you know, can be taught by pretty much anybody who's,
Seemed like an excuse to get another $300 from it.
I'm still bitter about that class,
about,
the FSUS.
are you
I got an
really,
A
a lot of
minus.
students are.
There were no assignments, none. And then our final exam was a 10-page paper that you had to write on any amendment you chose. And I got an A- on my 10-page paper on the 4th amendment,
That's terrible.
and I got an A- in the whole class. And I was furious because it was a social studies teacher that graded me on it, and I just started.
Yeah, it could be, I mean,
got
anybody can
mad.
teach
I was
FSU.
like, I'm in English ed.
Yeah, you don't have to be on the Ferris faculty to teach. You know,
I'd
you
be
could be
bitter too.
staff, you could be somebody from the other
Terrible
section.
assignment.
4
Yeah,
years
there was
later,
no math
I'm
teacher.
still bitter about it.
Regretting
Class.
And
4 years
are-
later.
I was gonna add to that, I was an orientation leader this past summer, and there are secretaries that teach it, there was
Right.
a secretary from the College of Ed that taught
Right.
this to us, so.
Right, and it-
That was different,
Right,
yeah.
right.
I mean,
That's a nice
sometimes it, like they bring in
Yeah.
different, like
Yeah.
when you navigate like my FSU site, things like that. And
Right.
You can kind of use that, but I
Uh-huh.
don't know if all those classes are consistent and they do the same things.
I
Right.
think it'd be
So
fine
I
as
really
like
have
a,
no idea.
maybe one or two times seminar.
Yeah,
Or like an introductory
Right,
thing.
right.
But as it's just an awful class, I don't know.
yeah,
Or maybe like if you came in with like a really low ACT
Right.
score and like they're really worried that you will struggle, maybe something like that. I didn't take it, so I don't know really
Or
what you
GPA.
would
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
God bless you.
Yeah.
But
I'm,
yeah.
I'm still.
the other argument is, it would transfer nowhere,
Yeah.
That's the big problem too, yeah.
you
the
know,
transferability.
so, I mean, if
Just waste
if
the
you went
credit
to
hours.
another school, you'd have a 3-hour course that would count for absolutely nothing.
Do you know why that course exists? I can see like the intention of it, but is there like a real serious firm belief in that FSUS course that
Is
we're
it
just
some
not
like
seeing?
requirement of Ferris to get kids to not party out their first year? 'Cause that's what I got out of it. All we talked about was
Yeah.
drinking and the effects of.
Ferris has changed, okay? Ferris has changed over time. When I came to Ferris 23 years ago, there wasn't a community college in the area. We had a lot more associate degrees than we had bachelor's degrees. We had pharmacy and optometry, but those were only doctoral degrees. And things have changed a lot over time. First of all, there's a lot more community colleges. Secondly, many more students are going to community colleges to get things like automotive training or stuff like that, because of the expense. It's really expensive. And there are a lot of students who are going to community college to get those, you know, those first 2 years out of the way and then transferring to Ferris, again, because of the expense. But when FSUS came in, we did have a lot of students who were first generation college, you know, parents hadn't gone to college. It was something really different from them, and it was to give students the idea of experience. Whether it's with our student body now, you know, who are coming in, I don't know that it's absolutely necessary. I didn't feel it was necessary then, but, you know, I think it's something that has to be revisited. So the argument that we should have a 3-hour course that was covering those same, but, I mean, the argument is made too. I mean, our students come without really good computer literacy. They seem to feel that they are literate with Facebook and you know,
That's true.
Yeah,
and Twitter and Google.
I had absolutely no computer in high school, did everything handwritten.
Really?
0% computer. Wow.
Oh,
That was probably.
Pretty,
It's very
it's in
alien.
the dark ages.
It's very alien.
Pretty cool.
And critical
on
thinking
Reed
skills
City.
too.
Well, they had like computers there that I'd use, but like I didn't have like one at home or anything, but yeah. So,
No?
like, well, when I came here, the 150 course helped me a lot, like exponentially from where I was as
Right.
a writer, so
Yeah.
as an argument for that, like kids like me who are coming into college who have like no idea, they have like access to all these resources too there, so I think it would be good to have like an introductory writing course that would.
And that's what it will be. It will be closely attached to the, to the library, working closely with the library. Information literacy is gonna be a part of it, I mean, it'll be a very differently constructed course.
Yeah, because they have the labs, like just take a class on the lab or have the lab day or something work on paper, and I thought that was great, because that would be good.
Okay, so, next time we meet, we are not meeting on next Tuesday, right? I'm gonna take a look at the syllabus.
So after Thanksgiving.
Is there anything that can teach me to actually get Ferris Connect to work?
Oh my God. 4822 hasn't worked for you?
It's on and off still. Like I called and I got it. Like it stopped showing that message, but it's still, I don't know. It's still,
Are there things you can't open?
like if I get in, then I'm good. It's just the getting in process. It doesn't seem to like I've had to change my password probably 10 times. And it's just, I don't know if my account was one of them specifically that had some issues with what the stuff went under before. Or, I honestly don't know. My Ferris Connect is really messed up though.
Okay, what's happening on November 26th at the individual conferences? I will be here at the time that the class normally starts. Okay, if nobody appears in that first half hour, I'll probably just leave. You are not required to come to the individual conferences, but you're more than welcome to. And they should be based on things like the paper. If you have questions, if you want me to take a look at, what you've done on your paper, if you're interested in grades, if there's something you want to talk about in terms of teaching, or anything like that. So it's basically first come, first serve. I'll be here, again, if nobody shows up, I'm gonna be here. But I'll be here at the beginning of class next week.
On Tuesday, that is?
Yep. Okay, so, if I don't see you, have a great Thanksgiving.